Well, I'm joined here in the Gherkin by Professor Bobby Banerjee from Cass Business School. He's the author of Corporate Social Responsibility, The Good, the Bad and the Ugly. Professor, lovely to see you. I mean, is all this necessary? Can there possibly be any sentient creature in Britain or America who doesn't know that Coca-Cola is full of sugar? I mean, just taste it.
I think it's probably important for us to put this in a broader industry perspective. What Coca-Cola is doing is what all the big companies have been doing, whether it's in the mining industry, the McDonald's, the food industry, the tobacco industry, is when faced with regulation, you have to do something. In my view, what's happened here with this particular campaign stemmed from what happened in New York when they banned the oversized drinks. And Coke, along with two other major beverage manufacturers and McDonald's, had a very aggressive campaign against Bloomberg's law. They mounted a lawsuit, which they lost. So there are two kinds of strategies companies use when faced with impending legislation. I think the fear is, it's quite a real possibility that if things get worse, the industry might be faced with advertising restrictions.
Really?
Like the tobacco industry, for example.
I suppose Coke could argue with some justification that it does offer a low-calorie or zero-calorie alternative diet. Coke, I mean, it's not like the cigarette industry. There are no non-carcinogenic cigarettes.
True, it's difficult to sell a socially responsible cigarette. Having said that, there is some controversy about the low-calorie diet products as well in terms of its nutritional value, and it actually promotes that. But I think the key is to realize why a company is doing this. Yes, as the commercial, the introduction said, this is a $74 billion brand. So there are two ways to do this. One is you lobby with governments, which is what Coke also did, try and get the laws changed to suit your interests. But you also make sure that your image is maintained. So here I think the strategy is to tell people that, look, yes, we understand there's a problem. We understand we're a part of the problem, but we're also part of the solution. So therefore, let us regulate ourselves. We don't need any external regulation.
All right. Well, on that very issue, there was a story in The Guardian today saying that the British government is thinking about bringing in cigarettes with completely bland packaging. Now, this has been tried in Australia. Does it work? What's the evidence?
It's a bit early to say because they just started this in Australia. It was a fairly draconian measure. I think, again, what's more interesting for me is to see the reaction of the industry. And it was a very aggressive campaign mounted by British American Tobacco, Philip Morris, Japan Tobacco as well, who took the Australian government to court. They lost the case. And now they're actually going to the World Trade Organization using countries like Honduras and a couple of other countries, Dominican Republic, trying to say that this is an unfair trade barrier. So the thing is, because there are restrictions in advertising, if there were no restrictions on cigarette advertising, they would have done what Coke did. They would have had the same kind of ad on TV saying, look, this is an issue of choice,
right.
not of any kind of, we don't need this kind of draconian measure. So they've actually said that this is, I think the exact term they used was dramatic meddling, regulatory meddling in there. So in terms of effects on smoking, Australia in general has one of the lowest cigarette consumption.
And the consumption was going down anyway,
It was going down, but obviously it is a serious enough issue. And I think it's the next generation of smokers, which is the issue. I think people of my generation have understood the dangers, but I think it's the next generation which they want to continue doing that. Right. So it's a fairly draconian measure, but it seems to work.
Right. Professor Banerjee, nice to see you. Many thanks for coming in.
Thank you.